Start. Thank you, Maria. And start in on the script. Members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in the discussion. The town reserved the rights to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use a full name or acts inappropriately. As a preliminary matter, this is Denise Cronow, Chair of the Finance Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda and are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, starting with Stephen Morey.
Here.
Joe Grouse.
Here.
Peter Schaefer.
Here.
Jill Veith.
Here.
Chris Glowacki.
Here.
George Harrington.
Here.
Joanna Roche.
Here.
Denise Cronow here. Thank you. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, and I will be starting with Rick Sears,
Here.
Maria Besheva,
Here.
Brian Turbot,
In attendance.
Terry Norton. Hi, Terry. Okay. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Finance Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting of the Finance Committee, we are convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, here's some ground rules. I'll introduce each speaker. After they conclude their remarks, I'll ask the committee if they have any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Also, remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. All votes taken this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote, and as usual, when my screen goes dark, Stephen's in charge. So, okay, may I have a approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. Roll call, Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, aye, thank you. Okay, I'm now opening it for public comment. Please raise your electronic hand. Seeing no electronic hands waving at me, I am closing it for public comment, and I am turning it over to Brian for review and discussion of the following 2022 annual town meeting warrant articles. Article number 3, appropriation prior year articles. Please, Brian.
So Madam Chair, thank you. First of all, we have one change to this, which actually we were just discussing as you were getting ready for your meeting. All of the airport reappropriations are being pulled and will be presented at a future town meeting. So the only one that we will be asking for in Article 3 for reappropriations is for the school to be able to reappropriate $34,245 from Article 10 of the 2013 annual town meeting into Article 10 of the 2021 annual town meeting, school-wide building improvements. Given the fact that the central office has moved into what was formerly the teen center, they would like to transfer that money into the school-wide building improvements fund.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions? Why is the airport pulling their transfers?
Because they're trying to transfer them into articles that actually don't exist yet, and B, these should have been all flowed through Article 21, and so we're going, or 22, excuse me. So we will do it at a future town meeting, and it won't impact the airport in their ability to do anything.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, Brian? Chris?
Brian, do you have a master list somewhere of sort of unspent sums? I mean, is it like a balance sheet item?
We do.
And I mean, is that something we should be aware of in terms of like the total balance of it, or is it because it's a moving picture and
No, we go through, we do present to Capcom a list of all of the projects and the funding, and the assistant finance director and I put a list together, and we do talk about it with not only the departments, but the town manager as well. So
Okay, so that's something we can find in a Capcom packet?
we can provide it to you. I don't know if it may have been in a Capcom packet as well. Yes. I don't recall which meeting though, Chris, off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
Chris. Any other questions for Brian?
Yeah, I had one. Brian, unspent funds fall to free cash, but this here is an appropriation from 2013. So when's the determination made that it?
So unspent funds in the general fund operating budget itself fall to free cash. Any capital articles that are funded through Article 10 itself, or any of the other individual articles that we may authorize, do not automatically fall to free cash at the end of the year. They're left open until the project is completed. And we do try to reappropriate articles as best we can to similar or like projects, and or if there's small balances left, we would close those to free cash if the project is completed.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, in which case may I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to adopt.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Stephen.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Jill.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Denise, I thank you. I like how I call myself as if in the third person. Okay, Brian, Article 6, General Fund, fiscal year 2022, General Fund budget transfers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we're asking for 3 general fund budget transfers from medical insurance into the fire operating budget for $150,000. This is the first step in phase of the purchasing fire protective gear for our firefighters that is beginning the process of eliminating PFAS from the protective gear that they wear to fight our fires. This is the first step in getting them outfitted with, to the extent possible right now, because you can't get completely PFAS free gear, but we are replacing it as that becomes available. From medical insurance into town clerk operating for $9,000. This is to cover anticipated costs relative to the upcoming annual town meeting. We will be engaging another company, the company for sound in the auditorium, and that was unexpected as the decision was made after this budget was originally adopted at last year's town meeting. And then public works salaries into parks and recreation salaries. This is simply moving the amount of money for the remainder of the year for the new Parks and Recs director and to establish the Parks and Rec organ object within the budget. It is also created in Article 8, but we are moving it so that we can start to gain the history in terms of the budget operation itself. So we would respectfully ask for a positive motion on these.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Brian? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
And a second. Thank you. Okay, Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna, Denise, I thank you. Article 8, appropriation fiscal year 2023, general fund.
Can you scroll all the way down, Maria, please? And then we'll go back up and talk about one item that's changed since we did this. So the grand total that we're asking for to operate the general fund is $105,523,366. There has been one change since we presented this to you on Saturday at the FinCom meeting. Maria, if you'd scroll back up to the beginning so we can point that out and have a discussion with the FinCom. So under the Nantucket Housing Office, you'll see the operating piece is $1,275,000. At the Saturday meeting, we had originally presented that as $275,000. Given the struggles that the town has with finding housing And some of the information that we have heard from various collective bargaining groups as we've done a listening tour with people, we are suggesting and requesting to appropriate $1 million from free cash, which the idea is to create a grant program and partner potentially with Community Foundation, where employees who have unmet housing needs would be able to make an application for assistance if necessary for housing. The reason that we're leaning in this direction is so that I don't think that the town manager and I think that we should be the determining factor in these types of programs. So we can partner with a nonprofit to do this. So that's really the only change in the budget. And I think that both the town manager and I believe, since we have the free cash, and we certainly know some instances where it's been difficult for people with housing, that we think that this is an undertaking that is critical to being able to retain staff that we currently have here as we move through providing services to the residents and the taxpayers.
Thank you, Brian. Questions? Okay, Maria, actually, can you take this down while we go to questions? Thank you. Peter?
Yeah, Brian, so this is going to basically be used to reduce rentals, monthly rentals?
I think it's really going to be used in case employees are having a difficult time with housing, and they would be able to make an application to this fund and would be able to potentially leverage some money out of it to help with rental assistance. It would be easier than us doing it specifically due to various collective bargaining issues that we would have, and also due to the fact that I think people may have an easier time going to the nonprofit to apply for it than coming directly to us.
But it's not going to be used to reduce somebody's mortgage payment.
I think on a broad basis, I don't think that we've completely, I don't want to say we haven't completely thought the program through, but I don't know if we've eliminated, if somebody was struggling with that, whether it would be able to be used or not. And I'll defer to Libby on that answer, Peter.
We haven't thought the program through, but we have a crisis with town employees. And we were reading about a program in Georgia where the county set up a special fund for public safety personnel. That's not what we would limit ours to, but it's a little different than what we're talking about. But basically they wanted their public safety personnel to live within the county limits. They were all moving out of the county because it was too expensive. So they set up some criteria to help offset housing expenses. And it might have been rental, it might have been mortgage. I'm not really sure about that. I don't think we've determined one way or the other, but there would be specific criteria as to how people would be able to access this fund. It's only available if you are in a certain circumstance. For example, but not written in stone, just for discussion purposes, if housing expenses should be, let us say, 30% of your annual income, and you're paying 60%, perhaps there is some kind of offset for that. What we're hearing from our employees so far, and we have a survey out, is that A, they can't find housing at all. B, when they can find it, no surprise, it's incredibly expensive. And so as a result, they are starting to look at commuting, and they're starting to just leave. So we are desperately trying to come up with ways to figure out how to retain town employees and keep them on the island. So this was something that we thought could at least be a kind of a pilot program to try out and see if we can come up with some criteria. And as Brian said, it's best to go through a third party. Otherwise, we have a tremendous amount of collective bargaining to do, and that's going to take forever.
Joanna was first and then Joe. Please, Joanna.
So I think this is a great idea. What was the amount again that you're putting into this fund?
$1 million from free cash.
Okay, and the criteria hasn't been developed. And is there a list of current employees in the town that you're subsidizing? Like, are you already doing for certain employees any type of, so you're not doing any kind of offset at all, right? As a benefit or as an option,
Well,
they can't do that?
Are you talking about housing stipends for anyone or
Yes,
anything like that?
yes.
There are a couple non-union people not in the general fund that are getting them. That there's one that I know of,
But they're not in town administration.
but they're not in town administration.
Okay, so then here's my second part of the question. Who is eligible to apply to this fund? Only union people?
No. This is part of the criteria that hasn't been established yet.
Okay. Okay, so, and if you do it this way, then this money isn't taxable, right? To the person who receives it, because that's also a challenge.
Well, if we did it through us, it would be taxable and
Right.
we would have various collective bargaining issues that we would have to navigate. By doing it through the nonprofit, we would be able to direct the money to the individuals that need it in the most expeditious and probably the best way that we can do it right now.
Right, the only concern that I really have is that why wouldn't everyone apply for this, right? Because
Well-
this is a challenge for everyone.
Well, it's not a challenge for everyone. It's a challenge for people who can't find housing, who don't have secure housing, who are paying well above what the standard is for what you are supposed to be paying supposedly for housing from your income. So it is going to need to be very specific as to what the criteria is. Otherwise, we're going to be out $1 million in, less than a year.
Right, quickly. So is there going to be, I'm trying to come up with the relationship between how much money the employee makes, what your percentage is, and how to administer this in a fair way. And obviously I can't do it on the spot, but there is a relationship between all of those things.
There is.
Right.
You're- there
I've
is.
done some of this before in some of my work here on Nantucket, and it's hugely challenging.
Yeah.
Right. But
And
I like the idea a lot of it going through the community foundation, because it takes the decision making off the town, because there could be a bias issue, right? It makes it anonymous, and I think it makes it inherently a bit more fair. So great idea.
Thank you, Joanna. Joe?
I think this was answered. I was going to ask about whether a grant would end up being taxable income to the recipient. And it sounds like that's one thing that it does cure. It ends up being a non-taxable sort of transfer of funds. For what it's worth, as you're coming up with a criteria, I suggest you look at the DHCD's rules and regulations for affordable housing. They talk a lot about 30% of your income and what sort of assets you can have. I mean, that you can come up with. It's imperfect, but you're sort of square rooting the people you're trying to support.
Yeah, we may not get this right on the first try, but we have an internal team that's working on this. The housing director is one of the members, and he, of course, is well versed in DHCD.
All that stuff, yeah. Okay,
But thank you,
thank
Joe
you.
and Joanna. Those are good. That's good feedback.
Chris?
Yeah, so the parts that haven't been worked out include, Brian, like you haven't thought of sort of average grant size, number of employees that this might, all that's a TBD.
It's all TBD, and I just want to point out too, to just hopefully also in case this alleviates any questions the committee may have. We're not going to be making any transfer to any nonprofit to do this until it's been fully vetted and all the walls around it have been done, so that we internally are all clear on what the program will look like and how it'll operate. So
Yeah, I think a lot of the questions are just because I think a lot of us have burned a lot of calories trying to come up with similar type programs, and we know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I hear the frustration in your voice, Libby. I'm not taking anything away from the effort. I get it. It's just super hard, and the devil is in the details. Is the taxability thing, is that a concept, or do you have an opinion from tax council that you can shield the income that way?
We don't have any opinions from any tax council. I think it'd be something that would have to be worked out. And as we do anything, we would always, as we do for many things, we advise people to consult with their own accountant to make sure.
I'd be surprised if you're going to be able to structure around that if you're going to limit it to town employees, but I'm definitely not a tax lawyer. Yeah, I don't know. I'm fascinated to see kind of the details you come up with on this. It's hard, but I appreciate the effort.
Thank you, Chris. Stephen?
Yeah. So what is the process for establishing the guidelines for the program? Who has authority over when the guidelines are determined enough to make that transfer to the nonprofit.
Brian, you can elaborate on this, but it's going to be this internal town team that I mentioned, which currently is myself, Brian, housing director, real estate specialist, HR director. We will have town council review these things and we will review them with the community foundation. And then I guess jointly we'll determine that we think it's ready enough to give it a go.
Okay, and this $1 million, is this, a pilot program, and you'll come back for $1.5 million next year? I mean, we talk a lot about how much money we're putting forth for any number of housing efforts, including for constructing employee housing. And this is, at least for me, and I think for most of the people on the call, a new concept. So, it wasn't thought of at all in terms of, our ongoing contributions.
We hadn't brought it forward. That's true. We have been talking about it for some time internally. And it wasn't until recently when we're experiencing a situation with a number of police officers leaving and some other town employees leaving the town that we realized we've got to get this figured out. I mean, we've been thinking that obviously for quite a while, but between us, we were brainstorming, we came up with it and we said, let's give it a try. Since we do have a good amount of free cash this year, it seemed like an opportune time to launch a pilot program. Brian, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I think that hopefully, depending on the parameters, Stephen, that it would be able to last more than one fiscal year and we'd be able to get an idea of what it looks like, and we would be able to, in subsequent years, be able to replenish it to continue it as we needed to.
Thanks.
Peter?
Doesn't this really go on forever? You can't give somebody an adjustment or a payoff part of their monthly rent, and then if 12 months say to them, well, it's not doing it anymore. So aren't we really making a commitment to begin funding something that's going to go on and get larger and larger? Because there's nothing else I see on the horizon that's going to solve the problem to this degree.
I don't think we know the answer to that right now. I think we want to be very upfront with people that it is a pilot program. It has not been determined to be a permanent, permanent, and we just don't know yet. I see your point, and I think we all think that there may be a need for some ongoing program like this if we are going to retain qualified employees.
No, I'm all in favor of it. I'm just looking at what the criteria will be and how we continue it going forward.
Yeah, I totally hear you and agree that we certainly don't want to create an ongoing expectation that this is, definitive going forward. So we do want to be very clear that we're trying it out. It might not work. We hope that it will.
Thank you.
Joanna?
Yeah, I think that I'm just trying to gather this thought in my head about this administration piece of this. One is I also think this is a really good first example of partnering with the community fund in terms of having them do any type of administration for the town of money they might take in from various sources and give out to various things. So I think that it's a good example to try in that way also. But maybe there's, as you develop this criteria, almost this 3 ways you can use this money, and then you get a commitment for a certain length of time for the money, right? Because the way that I've seen this done in the past, and Joe's right, there's a bunch of guidelines about this, but maybe if you're in certain income bracket, you can access this amount of money for this amount of time, and it becomes a short-term need. And then if you're in a different income bracket, you can access this amount of money for a short-term need. And then if it's a longer-term need, then maybe they don't qualify for a use of this fund. Maybe you're looking at a way of helping them finance housing, but you guys have developed, to Stephen's point, a bunch of other housing alternatives. So it's almost like there now needs to be a document of how the town can support your housing, right? You can rent an apartment on fairgrounds, right? You can qualify for you can do any of these 10 options, right? Because now you've got a bunch of different ways for people to access housing. And this becomes one thing, because I agree with the concern about ongoing funding, but I also think that there's probably not a singular place where people can look at how are the ways, if I work for the town of Nantucket, I can either access help or I can rent an apartment that's affordable or offset by some other way. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, but you're correct. None of that exists because none of that exists
Right, yet.
yet.
But we're funding it.
We need that for everyone, not just town employees, actually.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jill? Joanna, are you all set?
yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. Jill?
Yeah, so will the community foundation, will they be paid a fee to administer this? And also, do you know about how many people would apply for something like this? I mean, it sounds like you did a survey, so could you shed any more light on that?
The survey's in progress. We don't have a
Yeah.
pack yet.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think the fee would be, I don't know, Brian, whatever they charge.
That's something we'd have to work through with them, Jill, too, if they were going to charge a fee, what it would look like. Again, this has been discussed recently, and given the status of the free cash, the town manager and I thought it would be the ideal time to at least get the concept going so that we could try to alleviate some of or help with some of the stories that may have been, that we've heard about people having difficulty with this. And it is something that I think is important and critical to the town operations itself. So the fee, I believe they do charge a fee. What it is, I'm not sure, but it's certainly something we would discuss with them and make sure it wasn't out of line with any expectations that we may have.
I mean, if 50 or 75 people applied, 100, I don't know how many people you think would apply, but that could be a full-time job for somebody.
I'm not sure how many will. As the town manager noted, the survey is still out, so we don't have all the results back yet. So I think that when we get the survey back, it'll be a good guide to inform us on what potential utilization of a program might look like, or what the need would potentially be.
Well,
And I
so
guess we can't wait to vote on it for the survey to come back. That's not going to be back
we
for
have
a
to do
while.
it today.
Well, if we didn't do it today, it'd have to be a technical amendment, and I would respectfully, hopefully I'm trying to keep those two as minimal as possible, if hopefully none, if we can.
I have questions too, so I'm
Go
trying to
ahead.
decide if I get a turn or are you guys going to keep going?
No, you go. Go.
I'm gonna raise my own hand. Couple things I think is important to consider. So one of the things, Libby and Brian, is to reach out to Janice at the rental assistance program, because they have to do the same kind of criteria, if you will, for people who need rent. So they might have something that's kind of interesting for you to look at as a model. It just occurred to me as you're talking about it. Secondly, it probably also makes sense as part of your process to have a different checkpoints. So after the first 250,000, we evaluate the effectiveness, we evaluate blah, 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 whatever criteria you're going to set that measures success of this program, and to do it in tranches of money, not just after the first million, because, then $1 million is gone. And then my last comment is really just a general comment about the town is doing a tremendous effort of supporting affordable housing. So I'm just on the back of my little envelope here, I came up with 17,152,000, and that excludes still Article 17's number. That excludes the Loran housing number. That's just the million for this grant, the 5 million CPC, the 10 million select board, and 1.152 that we just did for airport housing last night. So I think that is something that is worth emphasizing to the community, that the town continues to, in addition to the 40+ million that's been spent already, or is, in the pipeline already. I think it's important that the community understands that, the town is investing in this. It's not just something that is like, okay, well, everybody, good luck and find a place and, those kind of things. So is it enough? Of course not, or we wouldn't have the issues we have. And the town is trying to find creative ways forward. And I think you should be able to emphasize that. And I don't want to say take credit, that's not the way to phrase it, but you should emphasize the investments that you're making already. I think it's important that that should be noted. And then with that, I'll go over to Peter. You had your hand raised, and then Joe.
Yeah, Libby, when you're recruiting somebody from the outside and you run an ad in the newspaper and they respond, are you going to say your job is paying $100,000 a year plus $1,000 a month rent assistance? I mean, how would you do that when you're trying to recruit somebody? Or is it not for recruits? It's only for people that already live here.
It would all depend on really the position, I think. If it's a high level department head position that we can't fill on island, very specialized, it may be that we have to start re-examining the issue of housing stipends. That funding would not come out of this $1 million. It would come out of the departmental budget, but we don't have a standard on that right at the moment, but it's typically not, it hasn't until now been used as a recruiting tool.
Yeah, a lot of work to go on that one, I think.
Yeah.
Joe?
I think it's a great idea. I think it's an experiment worth trying. We are clearly in crisis across town employees, private employees, affordable and working force level income people. So I think it's a great idea. If I'm not being too impertinent, I would say motion to adopt.
I would
Second.
Okay. Any
Well,
further discussion?
you can't make a comment and then a motion. So, I just want to make another comment here that, it's all well and good and well established that housing is a big issue. I also have an issue with this process, that it's coming to us just hours before we need to make final motions. And $1 million is a lot of money, even in the context of this housing crisis and even in the context of the size of the town's budget. So, I understand that there's not always ample time to include everybody in a discussion, but for this to be the first time that it's even mentioned after we've discussed many other housing initiatives and talked about ongoing commitments in many other meetings, I think that's unfortunate.
A fair point, Stephen, and I guess I would just say my view is this is a rather unusual set of circumstances. I had a sergeant on the police force chew my ear off at the bar at my comment the other day. They are really dealing with difficult problems with retention, and you're right. It should have been brought out sooner, but
Or
I think this is a problem. This is a problem that needs a big
one of the
Band-Aid.
other many pools of money that we have available for housing.
Well,
I mean, we
Right.
have staff for it. We have CPC. We have, whole other pools of money.
CPC is not available for town employee housing.
CPC can make donations to nonprofits.
But CPC has to be within certain percentage of AMI, so it wouldn't be available to everyone. It'd be only set to individuals that meet the AMI thresholds for CPC.
But doesn't some of their money, I know it goes above 100% AMI.
80.
Other comments and questions, Chris?
Yeah, this is a super frustrating topic all the way around, a super frustrating thing for everyone, this thing to deal with them. But I do feel like the finance committee is becoming irrelevant as it relates to the topic of housing in some degree, and that we're sort of asked to vote for everything. I don't, we spend so much time crawling through the details of expenditures that are so much smaller than what we're presented with here. And I don't know, I'm very much on the fence, and I'm very kind of frustrated with where we're at to be asked to kind of write this blank check without more detail.
I mean, the other option is, the town meeting is May 2nd. We do technical amendments usually the week before. That's 6 weeks away. Really, Libby and Brian, is there an opportunity to have at least a framework of how this is going to work and the survey results? You know, not it's Tuesday at 5 o'clock and we push this button, but it's, here's the top 10 things we've considered and we're still debating it. It's not nailed down yet, but it would give the committee a bit more comfort into, it's not a reflection of who trusts who, but it's a reflection of, as Stephen and Chris have pointed out, and Jill, that, it's okay. Oh, and another million today? Okay, well, surprise. So understanding that everybody is busy and this wasn't intentionally left to this moment, that's completely understood. But I'm actually happy to do this in a technical amendment at the end of April. I think that's the more appropriate way because of the nature of it. If Brian and Libby, you tell me that that's the way it can go forward, and if the rest of my committee, if the rest of the finance committee would be open to doing it in that same manner. So reaction to what I just suggested. Peter?
This is a dynamic problem. We need a dynamic solution. When I watch select board meetings, so many items that come up gets tabled or postponed or gets put aside. And I think something like this, we can spend years negotiating and coming up with the proper solution is, if we ever figure it out. But I think that it's real important to get this money available as soon as possible. And I get concerned when anything gets pushed back, even though we're not the final word, but everything gets pushed back. I'm just worried that it'll get pushed back even further at that point.
Okay, I mean, typically I wouldn't answer, but my observation is it's not so much that we won't be in favor of this on April 28th. It's just we'll have more comfort as to what we're in favor of. Right. So if someone was to say, you've just voted for $1 million, but how's that going to work? We're going to say, we don't know, but we voted for $1 million. So it's more to, I guess that would be my observation, but I am also happy to go with the majority of how the committee is viewing this. Jill, you raised your hand?
Yeah, I was just saying, I was just kind of hoping we could see the data from the survey and, that way you get a better idea of how many people. $1 million is still a lot of money. I know we talk about that like it's not, but, when you're talking about subsidizing someone's mortgage, that sounds like a lot of money to me. So I just kind of wanted to see the data from the survey and what we know that there's a need, and we know that there's a need at different income levels. So I understand that, but I would feel a little more comfortable waiting and just seeing the results of the survey. I'm not doubting what Brian and Libby say. We all feel this every day, but there are also some people on the island who vocally don't like the idea of employers, subsidizing housing too. So I think this just gives a chance to say, we're these employees, we would like this. This would be a great part of our program and package to recruit and retain us on the island. And I don't think waiting a little longer to see that on paper would hurt, but.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Joanna?
I agree with Peter. I think this is a crisis. I don't think that, it's not going to change my vote to wait one way or the other. But what I would say, as a person who is struggling to hire people and has no housing for those people, I completely sympathize with the fact that there are people in crisis and don't have a place to live and might need an extra $1,000 a month for 6 months to find a place to live, or they're not going to work here. I mean, I have 5 vacant positions and housing that an adult professional would not use for 2 of them, right? So I totally understand that this is a critical issue. And I know that, the town has quite a few unfilled positions. So making it easier for them to try to fill them helps what we do on this committee, right? Because we vote and fund positions so the town can do their work. And I don't think anyone has this intention, but we're trying to help these people find a place to live. And hopefully it's transitional, right? Hopefully I trust that Brian and Libby can come up with criteria that's fair and reasonable and can make this work. Thanks.
Thank you, Joanna. Well, here's what I want to do right now. Brian, did you want to say something, or are you just waving at me?
Well, I think you had asked, Madam Chair, I mean, if it would make it easier and to do it, then we certainly would support. We could remove it from the motion today and we could support doing a technical amendment on the 28th and come back with more information for the committee if that's the way the committee would like to go. I think, I do want to say I certainly respect Stephen's comments about it coming forward at, on the day we're doing motions, and it certainly wasn't something that either the town manager or I took lightly, asking to put another $1 million in there. But with the amount of free cash that we had, it was an opportunity as we were going through the potential last minute recommendations, as an opportunity to try to do something for what we all know exists in terms of a crisis for housing. But I certainly support and would endorse coming back with a technical amendment if that would make the committee feel better about supporting it.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, Chris, go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to know, Brian, what kind of thing do you think you'd likely to be able to come back with in 6 weeks? I would hate to send you out to do a bunch of work.
I think, we should probably, I think, have some of the results of the survey back. We could also do some more research on some of the parameters of how it would look. So, and it may not be an exact complete box, but it would be a better outline of what it would look like and how it would function. And I think that, the chairwoman gave a really great idea about maybe doing this in tranches so that we could evaluate it as it goes forward. So I think we could come back with something like that. And hopefully that would give committee members some more comfort with the idea and the concept, so that we would be able to get support in doing a technical amendment to bring to town meeting.
Okay. What I'd like to do is just go call one of your names and tell me whether you're comfortable leaving it in now and voting and making the motion now for the article, or whether you would rather have the $1 million come out and then do a technical amendment on the 28th. So Stephen, now or the 28th, please?
The 28th.
Okay. Peter?
And now, because I don't think we need a survey to know it's a problem.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Joe?
Now,
Okay. Chris?
Wait,
Okay. Jill?
28th.
Okay. Let's see. George?
now,
Okay. Joanna?
Now,
Okay. I don't like it when there's only 8 of us. I'm actually I want to see the technical amendment, Brian. It just, so it's 50-50. So let's do the technical amendment on the 28th. With
That's
that though, I would like someone on the finance committee, if Libby and Brian so are wishing, to support them in their development of this and raise their hand to help them over the next 6 weeks. So if you want the help, Libby, if you say, no, we're good with the people we've got, that's fine. But if you want someone from FinCom to pony up some time over, because after today, we're pretty much free. And I know everyone was looking forward to that, but I'm more than happy to find a volunteer if that would be helpful for you.
Why don't we see where we're at once the survey results come in, and once we've had a chance to get our team back together. Some of them are on vacation right now, and the survey is supposed to be due back, I believe, on Monday.
Okay,
But we're going to need a little time to, put it together, understand the results and sort of summarize them and things like that. So can we get back to you on that? I think we would welcome the assistance. Yes.
so, okay, so I'm going to look for a volunteer now because why wait on that? So Joe's volunteering and Peter's volunteering. You have 2 volunteers. Excellent. You both have been tapped. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
There we go. Okay, so we are now making a motion on Article 10 without the $1 million grant money in it.
Article 8, Madam Chair, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, Article 8, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself here, Brian.
Okay.
Very eager. Okay, so we're now making our motion on Article 8, appropriation fiscal year 2023 general fund without the 1 million grant money in it. May I have a
motion to adopt as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
aye,
Joe,
Aye.
George,
aye,
Joanna.
Aye.
Denise, I thank you. Okay. Article 10, please, Brian. General fund capital expenditures.
Maria, can you put that up on the screen? So you can scroll all the way to the, all of the capital in this motion, Madam Chair, is consistent with what was in the capital program committee's report, with the exception of one item, which we did discuss previously or mention to the committee previously that we may be bringing forward, which was SRF funding for the engineering and construction potentially of a new water main in the area of west of the Nantucket Memorial Airport. It is currently in Article 10 with an authorization, including an authorization to access the state revolving fund. It's also written, if you scroll down just a little bit further, Maria. And I'm going to let the town manager take you through some of how we're going to do this, Madam Chair, but it also has written as with a debt exclusion proposition 2.5, which would require both a successful town meeting and a potential ballot question. And at this point, I think I'm going to let the town manager explain exactly how we envision this going and what we need from you today.
Thank you, Brian.
Sorry, Libby.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Libby.
So I believe the way we've left this, there is, it's an understatement to say there's a lot going on right now. The way we left this is that we applied for this SRF funding some months ago after a discussion with the board. However, we do need to have an appropriation in place by June 30th if we're going to proceed. So in order to proceed, however, we did not put a debt exclusion on for the appropriation on the ballot. However, there's still time to revise the ballot to add one. So our plan would be to go to the select board at their meeting next week and determine if they are willing to revise the election warrant to add another debt exclusion that would represents the amount that needs to be in place for the SRF funding. If they agree, then the election warrant will be amended and we proceed as planned. If they do not, then we reconsider this whole thing for 2023 and we don't go forward with this item in Article 10. So I guess what we're asking you all is, do you feel comfortable letting the motion be whatever the select board determines it to be? It's either in or out, depending on if they're willing to add a ballot question.
So just so I can understand, it kind of doesn't matter what we think today. It's up to the select board.
Well, they will, our recommendation is that in order to fund this, we need a debt exclusion. So that is solely up to the select board, yes.
Okay. Okay. No, I just wanted to be clear that we could make a motion to adopt or motion not to adopt. And really, if the select board decides, yes, put it on the ballot or don't put it on the ballot.
If you said today, we do not want to adopt, then we would review that with the select board and they would then need to do a positive motion. If they wanted to proceed anyway and amend the election ballot, they would need to come up with a positive motion.
Okay. Now, here's my tricky question. I don't know what SRF is, though we talk about it a lot.
Sure. So SRF is the state revolving fund.
Thank you.
And
I knew I
it's,
should know it, but I
it
didn't.
for this particular project, it would potentially provide us with a 0% loan, which even though we can borrow at very good rates, I can't borrow at 0 yet in the market.
It's a low or 0% interest loan to municipalities through DEP for very specific projects, mostly wastewater and water related.
Thank you. I know I had heard it, but I couldn't remember the acronym. Thank you. Questions for
So-
Libby and Brian on this? Joe?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm So the $9 million appropriation that needs the debt exclusion ballot vote, does that actually is that actually a sort of being put in place so that you can get the SRF funding and then never gets used, or do you need the 9 million and the SRF financing?
So the $9 million authorization is the commitment for the funding from SRF. So the way that the motion is written is it authorizes us to borrow up to 9 million and also to utilize that authorization for SRF funding. It's not both of them, so we don't get 18 million, Joe. It's only 9 million, no matter how we end up doing it.
Okay.
But they need that in place for us to be able to continue in the through the process with SRF.
Okay, so it's basically to obtain the SRF financing. It's not any other financing that the town is going to. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. Okay.
Other questions? Is this what the project is going to cost?
It's going to hopefully cost less than that, to be honest with you, Madam Chair.
Okay,
The other issue here is that the water company is doing a feasibility analysis of what it would take to extend the water to this area. And unfortunately, that is taking a little bit longer than we thought. I don't think we have those results yet. Brian, have you heard this week?
I haven't seen them as of today, no.
Okay, because if it's possible that it is a project of the magnitude that it might require an additional pump station, which will put this off the warrant entirely, because that would need to be a lot more work would need to be undertaken to figure out where the pump station would be. Do we have to acquire property? Is there town property for it? And then a permit from DEP. There's a whole host of things that would have to go along with that. So so this is a bit of a stopgap to put it in the warrant prior to having that analysis done. We expect it to be done, I think, this week.
so if Wanacom comes back and says we are not extending water, therefore the 9 million is important because you can go ahead and get the SRF loan or funding, right? If they say we are going to extend the water, then it's back to the drawing board and the 9 million comes out. Is that how I understood it?
Sorry, I don't think I explained it well.
Okay.
If Wanacom's feasibility analysis shows that they need a new pump station in order to extend the water line,
Okay,
and we cannot proceed with this right now. If their analysis shows they can extend the water line with existing infrastructure already in the ground, pump station wise, then it's a potential go.
so the pump station is the long pole in the tent here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Other questions for Libby and Brian on this? No, straightforward. Okay. In which case, still Article 10, just checking. Losing track here, Brian. All right. Then any other questions? In which case, may I have a motion?
To adopt.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Denise, I thank you. Okay, 21, please, Brian. Fiscal year 2023 enterprise funds operation.
So before you have a request for a total of $50,690,835 to operate the enterprise funds listed there. Below are all the funding sources that we have suggested or are promoting using for them. As we did discuss previously, we are making additional commitment out of the 23 tax levy for solid waste. And as noted, my recommendation next year to town administration will be for an additional override to fund that, as it's putting great strain on the levy limit for us right now, but we do have an operation we need to continue to fund.
Questions for Brian on this? Brian, how does our Island Home have retained earnings?
They have retained earnings because of the CPE and everything that they receive annually. That's where the majority of their retained earnings are certified from.
Okay, thank you. Okay, other questions? In which case, may I have a motion, please?
Motion to adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Joanna, George.
Aye.
Thank you, Joanna. Denise, aye. Thank you. Article 23, fiscal year 22, budget transfers.
So all of the transfers relate to the airport. They're all funding these transfers out of retained earnings, and these transfers will be used to extinguish any bans associated with those projects so that they won't end up borrowing the money. And sewer, I digress a little bit. Sewer actually had some overages in changes that we needed to fund. So we are funding those out of retained earnings from his budget this year.
Questions for Brian? Brian, what's the total retained earnings at the airport?
Was close to, I can tell you actually, Madam Chair, one moment. Here with me. You said airport, right, Madam Chair?
Yes, please, Brian.
The total retained earnings for the airport was $7,289,233 effective July 1st, 2021.
Okay, thank you.
And the way that what they're doing within this article, Madam Chair, is consistent with the approach that they have taken in prior years.
Mhm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Brian? In which case, may I have a motion
Motion to.
Motion to
adopt.
adopt.
and a second?
Second.
Thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
I went out of order just to see if everybody's still. Joe,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, aye. Thank you. Okay, Article 29, rescind unused borrowing authority.
So before you have a motion, Madam Chair, to rescind authorizations that are on the books from the airport, the projects have been completed and there's no expectation for the great majority of these or any of them that they will need any of the remaining authority. So we're asking to rescind this borrowing authority.
Okay. Questions for Brian?
Does this benefit our bond ratings to sort of reduce outstanding borrowing authorities, or is this really just sort of administrative cleanup?
It's more administrative cleanup, Joe. It's not going to necessarily impact our bond rating, but it certainly will change how much we have available to borrow. So it's more administrative than anything. And we do this from time to time also so that we ensure that no more borrowings are in financing for these things can continue if it's not needed.
Okay, thanks.
Is there a total? I didn't see if there's a total.
I don't have a total, but it's in the range of probably close to over $4.5 million worth of authorizations, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, other questions for Brian? In which case, may I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Thank you.
Second. Second.
Thank you. Start with Joanna. I know, really keeping everybody on their toes today.
Sorry, I'm yelling at the kids. Aye.
Thank you. George,
Aye.
Jill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Denise, aye. Thank you. Okay, the Article 15 reopened appropriation school department athletic facilities.
The last article for this round, right, Madam Chair?
I believe it is, Brian.
So as we discussed yesterday, we were notified by the school department that they would like to reduce this borrowing as they're not going to proceed with some of that project, and they would like to they're going to continue with the playing fields at Bacchus Lane. So they've given us a number of $5.6 million, $5,600,000 for this borrowing article, reduced from 16.4.
Okay, questions for Brian? Jill?
Just, Brian, they've already been authorized, like, what, $1 million, or was it $2 million for the tennis courts? I forget how much, sorry.
They have right around $1.2 million that was authorized. I believe it was last year, actually, too. So that would be included in this number. That would be added to this number if this were to pass at town meeting.
Yeah, added. This is additional just to
that's
complete the
correct.
project because they're combining the baseball fields, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Comments? Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second,
Second.
Second,
thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill.
aye.
Aye.
Chris.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Joe. Sorry, Jill.
I know, Jill and Joe sounds alike. Joe,
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, I thank you. Okay. The date of our next meeting is, and that's 107 articles. Congratulations, everyone. Date of next meeting is Thursday, March 10th at 4 p.m. and that's the joint meeting with the planning board and the select board. My expectation is it'll go like last year, which is, does anyone have any questions about our motions? And if so, yes, and if not, it'll be brief. On other business, I am looking for a motion to approve the amended minutes from February 24th.
Moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill, Joe,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, I thank you. Minutes were approved. Okay, and just thought I'd take a breath. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
You guys are always snappy with that one. Stephen,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Jill,
aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Joanna,
Aye.
Denise, as always, thank you so much. I mean, it's been, Maria, you were a rock star this season, I'm telling you, as
Yes.
picked up Rick's rock star baton and ran with it. I really appreciate it. You've kept us so well organized. I was kind of hoping we weren't going to be over 100 articles again this year and hoping we're not over 100 next year. And, but it is what it is. It takes to, do the business of the town and democracy at its best. So all of you, thank you so much for all your efforts.
Thank you,
Thanks
Denise,
all.
Thank you.
for
Denise.
your,
Thank you,
effort.
Denise.
Thank you, Denise.
Take care. Have a good evening,
Thank you.
everybody.
All right,
You too.
talk to everybody later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.